Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace. Tonight here on the Pace Report, I'm honored to introduce you to a vocalist who's been making a very small dent here on the East Coast by the name of Paul Jost. Now, Paul comes of the whole rock and roll generation, and for the last 25 to 30 years, this gentleman has been a very in-demand percussionist as well as drummer, playing with the likes of the great Billy Eckstine as well as Morgana King, just to name the endless few. Within the last 6 years, he decided to jump ship and really pursue his passion to become a jazz vocalist. And his brand new record, Simple Life, is really an amalgamation of his love of some of the great American songbook, some of his original songs, as well as really taking a dive into a lot of his contemporary music that he grew up in the 1960s and 70s. And when you go see him live, you're going to see a hodgepodge of songs that he sings, ranging from Nick Ashford and Valerie Simpson to Donovan, as well as Harry Nilsson. Tonight, you're going to see highlights of his performance of two sold-out performances at Mesro here in New York City. And I hope you guys really go out and check him out. Also, his brand new record, Simple Life, also features the great Joe Locke on Vibes, a special guest. So sit back, relax, and enjoy highlights of Mr. Paul Jost live at Mesro here in New York City as part of the Pace Report.
Little night, take us on the wings and run far on your mind. Only waiting for this moment to arrive. That puts in the little night, take us on the eyes and run see on your mind. We're only waiting for this moment to be free. Paper, line, girl, line, girl, line, girl,
Paul, it's been about 3 or 4 years we've been trying to get this together, and I'm just honored just to hear this brand new music. Your album is Simple Life, and tell me about where you are musically versus your debut record.
Well, this record, I'm really honored to have a cohesive quartet. On my first record, I had all great musicians, but there wasn't one unit throughout. And this band, we've been playing together for about 2 years, and it sounds like a band, so it has a cohesiveness about it that I don't think I had in the first one. Good music, but this has, we kind of speak the same language now. We can hear each other in different ways. There's a great sensitivity, and it's really special.
And it also helps that you have a good friend of mine here on the Pace Report, Joe Locke, on Vibes on this record.
Yeah, Joe Locke is, Yeah, he kills it, man. He's such a great player, as you know, and he brings so much to the table. Like he's got great facility and great sensitivity, and he helped me be a better singer too. He had some things that he offered me that were just really wonderful. He really cares about the music. It's not just about notes with Joe. It's about music. That's the way it is in the whole band. Everybody wants to make music, and he really handled the stuff so lovingly. It was really an honor to have him on it.
You know, jazz vocalists today, are a rare breed today, especially males. There's a lot of female vocalists out here, but the male vocalists are, you got Sasho Vasandani, yourself, Gregory Porter, a couple of guys. But why do you think that now, in the era of jazz music, there hasn't been too much emphasis on male vocalists anymore?
I don't really have an answer for that, Brian. I really don't. I mean, now, it's surprising. A lot of times when I'm talking about this with people, Bobby McFerrin goes almost unnoticed, and he's one of the greatest singers, and his name never pops up, Maybe he's not mainstream enough, even though he had that great hit, Don't Worry, Be Happy. But boy, what a great singer. And of course, there's Kurt Elling. There's a fine young singer. I just was part of something with him at the Zinc Bar. Michael Mayo, boy,
Yeah.
he's beautiful. There's a lot of Theo Bleckman. He's such a creative, interesting singer that I really like. I think that it's a minority of male jazz vocalists compared to female, and why I have no idea. But I'm glad that I'm in the mix there somewhere.
The thing that I told you, I think, via message a couple of years ago about your debut record was, and I love the fact, and I saw it tonight, it's okay to reach out and do Donovan. It's okay to reach out and do Ashford and Simpson. And it's also okay to do, the American Songbook, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Cole Porter. And you have grabbed it all. And I think that's what makes your show presence so people are engaged with what you're doing.
Thanks, Brian. I mean, that's the whole goal for me, is I want to connect with people. So I want to have fun with the music and, make it artful, but I don't want it to be like a science project that people can't relate to. I'm not pandering to anybody either, but I want it to be creative. And I always find if you give people something that's, it's even in soloing, if there's something that's a little predictable, it opens the door for other things. So if you give people something that they can relate to, they'll accept more things where you're a little bit more adventurous. So it's a give and take, and I'm happy with that balance because I love it all. I really do. I mean, like, I started very young, and, we had, Nat King Cole and Sinatra and Doris Day and all that stuff in my house, and also, standing on the corner, watch, all the pop stuff, and then the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix and Stravinsky and the Rolling Stones, and I mean, I really love it all. There's a certain continuity with all of them. I think they all strike a certain chord. That's what I want to do. I want to vibrate that chord that kind of exists in all of us. There's something I find like connective, whether, like you said, it could be Donovan or it could be the Great American Songbook, it could be some jazz standard, but there's something in the vulnerability and the way that it's presented, I think, that becomes more palatable to people. That's really what I want to hit on. I just want to connect with people.
I could walk away with the hours, could fall with the flowers, console with the rain. In my head, I'd be scratching around my thoughts, busy hatching if I only had a brain. I'd unravel any riddle, any individual, and trouble my pain. In my head, I'd be scratching while my thoughts were busy hatching you why the ocean meets the shore. I could suddenly think of things that I've never thought before, and then I'd sit and think some more. I would not be just a number, my head all filled with stuffing, my heart all filled with pain. I would dance, yeah, and be merry. Life would be a dinner dairy if I only had a brain. If I only had a
You know, Paul, I was telling Charlotte, your manager, earlier, Bill Withers started his writing and record career at age 32.
Yeah.
You started your jazz foray about 6 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a very old rookie, you know. But I've been in music since I started playing drums when I was 6. It's still my principal instrument. And I started working professionally when I was 12 years old. So I was out there, and I've had the great fortune to play with a lot of great people over the years. And, you know, I'm a songwriter and arranger, all this stuff. But it's only in this part of my life in the past few years that I really am making singing more of my focus. And I think it's because it's just kind of worked out that way. Like all the things that I've played and heard and everything, it seems like I've played for a lot of singers. And I've seen a lot in the singers that I really love, you know, like Mark Murphy and, you know, Ella Fitzgerald and Ray Charles. And there's so many people, but Sinatra, they frame a story, Shirley Horn, oh my God, I go on forever. They frame a story in a certain way that makes it so special. And I said this recently in something, you know, I could sing Lush Life when I was 16, and I you know, I could sing the notes right and all that stuff, but it doesn't carry the same weight until you have some life experience behind it, you know. So I feel like I'm at that part of my life now. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I have a lot of life experience in a lot of different directions, and I think it all kind of comes together so I can communicate in a different way, you know.
Well, you graduated from Berklee College of Music in Boston, and you majored in drumming, percussion.
Well, I only did 1 year at Berklee.
Okay.
I left after 1 year, and I was in the education program, which was not really a good choice for me because I never had in my mind to be in education. I always, you know, it was always about performance. I should have gotten in the performance program, and I was so lucky. Like I said, I was playing professionally when I was 12 years old. I had a lot of experience before I got to Berklee, and as luck would have it, in high school, my teacher was a doctorate of music, a tremendous teacher. Why he was a doctorate in high school, I have no idea. But boy, he had, you know, all these really creative things and working with tape recorders and really stretching, you know, our imagination. And so by the time I got to Berklee, I was pretty, you know, I had a few things under my belt. And, you know, the first year was good, but I basically went out and played. And I did my classes. I think I still have like nightmares about every now and then that I didn't get a paper done or something, you know. I should have done the performance because that's really where my heart was. And I still think that thing about having a backup plan, I've told my son that, who's a really wonderful musician, that if you have a backup plan, you'll probably fall back on it. It's better to go without a net. Just do what you believe in. And it was never my backup plan to be, you know, a teacher. I like teaching, and I feel good speaking with, you know, college students or, you know, young kids. You know, I have an affinity for that, and I like that, but it wasn't in my playbook. I just wanted to go play, and, you know. So, yeah, I did 1 year at Berklee. It was a great experience, and it was, yeah, as a drummer and, you know, composition, you know, that stuff, yeah.
Because the drumming, I want to reiterate this because you said something earlier. I noticed how you perform percussion, how you're coming from a very percussive spew of how you perform, and Bobby McFerrin does that a lot. And I'm wondering, did the drumming actually help you out visually interpreting how you wanted to sing this music?
Absolutely. You know, because I come to music first as an instrumentalist, I was influenced and inspired more by instrumentalists than I was singers. It was only later in life that I was playing for singers and stuff, you know. I mean, I listened to singers, of course, but, you know, my focus was playing instrumental music. And so, yeah, I definitely feel that, like, in something I can bring to the table is I have a really good understanding of rhythm. So it's part of me. It's part of my vocabulary, and I can hit that in a way that maybe a lot of singers don't have. You know, like it's just. But I'd say, you know, like learning drums is, you know, Chick Corea plays great drums. Joe Lovano. There's everybody plays like some piano and stuff to get their harmony together. But maybe it's changing now. More people are playing drums. But when I was growing up, it wasn't that way. It was. Drummers weren't even considered musicians almost, you know, and people didn't look to learn anything about drums. You know, it was very few people that did that, you know. So I'm glad I have that as part of my history. It's all I remember. I don't remember anything before drums. I mean, I started playing, like I said, at 6, and I remember like at 5 years old, like, you know, praying to Santa Claus to bring me a set of drums. You know, I just wanted to play drums so much, and so. Yeah, it's definitely part of me, you know.
You know, the songwriting part of your career, you have been blessed to have the great Carl Perkins record 2 of your songs, and then you had Rick Danko and the band record your songs too. The songwriting part is another part of your life.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, it's really nice you to say, man. You know. So, like, you know, now I'm considered I never call myself a jazz singer. I just consider myself a musician, and I sing, you know. If somebody else calls me a jazz musician, that's their prerogative. But I just consider myself a musician, and I love all this stuff. So I feel just as proud and satisfied musically that I wrote some songs that Carl Perkins did. He was such a beautiful man. Wonderful singer and a wonderful songwriter, man. There's an album he has with the Jordanaires that is just so sweet, you know. And then this thing I did with Rick Danko, I'd done a jingle with a friend, Jim Tullio, out in Chicago. It was for Budweiser. And I was in Jersey. And so he was doing this thing with Danko, and Rick was playing bass and singing, and my friend Jim was doing some hand jive, and he wanted me to play some harmonica. So I did that, flew it in. I never got to meet Rick, but Jim thought this particular song I had, Book Faded Brown, was something right up the band's alley. He played it for him, and Rick did it. And I mean, you know, like Rick called me to say what a fan he was of mine, which it's like, you know, no, I'm a fan of yours. I've been a fan of yours for a long, no, man, I got to tell you, I love this. And it's like, oh my gosh, you know. And Carl Perkins was that way. I mean, he thanked me for, you know, writing this song, and, you know, they were really, I mean, it could really move me to tears because they were very special people. You know, like, you know, you get certain perceptions like jazz and all this stuff, and it's like, and that's great, you know. And it's a hard road. And it's a lot of study, you know. It's, you know, I take it very seriously, but I also have some input, like with Carl Perkins, like the father of rockabilly, you know, and the band. What a tremendous group that was. The band. I mean, like, to have those iconic things, like to have that part of my life is like, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's a real diverse. It's about as diverse as I can imagine, you know. And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled by it and honored. I'm deeply honored that they would do my music, you know.
In the simple
You have done some very important revisionings of musicians of your generation. Springsteen, the Born to Run project, we're going to get to that in just a second. But the fact that you can do Aerosmith, the fact that you can do these rock songs that are in the pantheon of classics now, in a jazz perspective, that is a very eye-opening thing for people in this diaspora now, because again, we go back to American Songbook, but you're doing something that needs to start happening to a younger audience.
Well, thanks. So like I was saying, like I hear this thread in all the music. There's a certain thing, and like when I arrange something, I said recently, like I just listen to the lyric and try to find some sort of a life thread that works for me, or some story I might make up about it, and then let that dictate where the music's going to go. In terms of like the rock stuff, like I'm in this band called the Jost Project, or TJP, that was started by a great vibraphonist, Tony Maselli. And it was really his idea for probably 20 years before I joined the band, to do rock songs in a jazz format. Now, I'd arranged like Beatles songs, and I've been doing that same sort of thing, but it really blossomed into this other thing. So, like Aerosmith, that was something that Tony and Kevin, the bass player, Kevin McConnell, that was kind of their idea on it. But I brought in a lot of arranging, to that project, and it's really fun. And I do that all the time. I everything is kind of fair game. I only pull back on stuff like, say, like Shirley Horn. Like I've been asked to sing "Here's to Life," and I know I could sing "Here's to Life" and I could put my own meaning on it. But boy, like when I'm asked, I always say, "Have you ever heard Shirley sing that?" Like, I don't know that it needs to be sung by anybody else, Or how about that Jimi Hendrix tune? It's like, have you heard Jimi Hendrix sing? I don't know that it needs me singing one. There's some things I think are better left alone. Even though I tackle things that other people say, like when I did the Springsteen thing, I got, thank goodness, I got a lot of great response about it. But someone had written like, he's destroying the stuff, like he shouldn't do that. I think everything is fair game, even my songs. I don't care if you wanted to arrange you do whatever you want, as long as it doesn't appear in like some, child pornography thing or something. You do whatever you want. That should be artistic license to do, your own vision of what it is. So I want that artistic right too, whatever the music is. But I love approaching them all. They all have a thing. It's really, the Springsteen thing. That was something, and I've said this before, that some of the best ideas I had are other people's ideas, that they would throw at me and they'd be like, oh yeah, I could run with that, But the Springsteen thing was this producer of Exit Zero Jazz Festival, Michael Klein, and he asked me would I consider doing that, and I said yes. I say yes to almost everything, And then I got into it because I really didn't know Bruce's music that much. I knew a couple of the hits, of course. But when I got into that album, man, I love his lyrics. I really dig him at like what he gives to the audience. Like he's like the real deal. But man, the lyrics were great. And then I reimagined it in a jazz format. But I stay true to the lyric. I honor Bruce. It's not like, again, it's not a science project that you can't understand. I keep some of the threads of his music, but it's definitely a jazz thing, harmonically, rhythmically. But that was really, really exciting, really fun to do. But that was Michael's idea, and I'm glad he asked me.
You got to put that out.
Dying to. We recorded it live at the Bitter End a couple years ago. And it was with Donald Edwards, who I love, on drums, Tony Maselli on vibes, Jim Riddle, who plays piano in this quartet, John Swana, an incredible trumpet player, but he was playing EVI, electronic valve instrument, and a great electric bassist, Chico Huff. And man, they they killed it. It was a great concert. We have some great video, and the recording came out really, really nice. So we're hoping to get that out, maybe bring it to Europe, maybe blow it up for some big band sort of stuff. But our first goal right now is getting me out there with the quartet. That's the main focus, and then Springsteen would be a follow-up to that, you know. Really excited about this. It's a good project. Barry Miles, great piano player. He arranged some of the tunes with me too. Just want to say that. When Michael Klein asked me, first thing I did was ask Barry, hey, would you share some of this with me? Because I had a lot going on at the time. So there's 8 songs on there, and Barry did 3, I did 3. We did 1 together and 1 we left alone. It was just a beautiful, beautiful marriage. I really liked the way it came out.
You did a tremendous and stirring tribute to the great Mark Murphy. And Mark meant a lot to a lot of people, especially in the world of vocalese. He was kind of that last baton torch to the music and the lineage. What made you influenced you? What influenced you to, one, write this song, and what does Mark Murphy mean to you as just a musician and a person of jazz?
You know, Brian, I'm not ashamed to say this, but I've played drums for Mark a couple times. And the first time I played for him, I didn't know who Mark Murphy was. He just wasn't on my radar. Like I told you before, I listened to a lot of stuff. We all miss stuff. I'm sure if we, shared notes, I heard stuff maybe you didn't, and vice versa. You know, we probably heard maybe 80% of the same stuff. But I miss Joni Mitchell, too. She wasn't on my radar. I mean, she is now. But when it was happening, you get involved with different things. And so when I played with Mark, the rehearsal is kind of like just seeing if you could play, because the charts have been stepped on pretty good. They've been played by 1,000 different people. And he just wanted to see if you could play. And he would, direct the trio, like just drums and voice. All right, let's do this. Like, play 12 bars, okay, just bass and voice, piano, voice, And when I heard him sing, it was like the first time. Frank Derone was like the first real singer that I heard. But Mark Murphy was the first like artist that was like nothing I'd ever heard before. Like, it was like, God, this isn't singing. This is like this whole thing. It's fearless, the way he phrases, like his musicianship was outstanding. That was obvious, but the way he could frame a story. And I tell this to the audience too, and I know I'm talking a little bit long and you can edit, but there's the song Lush Life, when we did it with him, like the end goes up chromatically, and those whose lives are lonely too, and he's conducting the band, and those big cymbal swells and piano, whose lives are lonely. And then he walks off the stage, and everybody in the place, including us, are all hearing too. Like he just brought it to the precipice of where he was going to take it. He could just take you, he could just reach inside and grab you, and that was what was so powerful to me more than anything. The way he could tell a story just like lit me up, So when I did this arrangement of Everybody's Talking at Me, which is on the new album, he was my inspiration because he was misdiagnosed with dementia, and it just made me think like how it would feel if you were cognizant of your own unraveling. And when you first get that tinge, like where things are all right, and then it's like, oops, what, how that, something weird just happened. That must be when it's really scary, like something's happening, And so I took that journey with this, and it's coming from that standpoint that it's confusing. It's mixed with heavy emotion that has moments of brilliance and then moments of total confusion. And the guys, they really give it up to that. They really honor the journey of that. So it's a very special piece for me. And I quote a little bit of Stolen Moments, which was such a big tune for Mark. Just one little bit of it. I do it for him, but also because, what is dementia other than a few stolen moments that you can still hold on to. So it's a powerful song for me,
this out. Oh, there's something on the air. Everybody's talking at me. I don't hear a word they're saying. Only the echoes of my mind. People stop and stare. I don't see their faces. Only the shadows of their eyes. I'm going where the sun keeps shining. Through the pouring rain. I'm going where the weather suits my clothes. I'm banking off the northeast wind. Sailing on the summer breeze. Skipping over the ocean like a storm.
Paul Jost, what does jazz music mean to you?
Oh boy, that's hard because, all music means something to me. Like I said, I mean they've all affected me in one way. The thing that really is so wonderful about jazz, though, is improvisation. That's what really separates it. That you have this open palette to create, like in the spot. I mean that's what jazz is. It's what's happening right then. And like all the records we listen to, those are just singular documentations of what that take was. But those people played 1,000 times, and when you're playing with people that aren't agenda driven, when they're all coming to the table to make music, to tell a story together, that's as great as life can be. I mean, artistically, that you all take this journey together, and people are listening to each other and supporting each other and giving to each other. I always say this about Jim Riddle, who I have the greatest respect for. He has all the facility in the world, all the creativity, anything you could possibly want. He's the first one that will lay out to allow space for other things to happen. He's never agenda driven about, like, I got to show all my practice, I got to show my stuff. It's never that about him. It's always about the music. And I try to be the same way, and I want to work with those people, and I do. Everybody in this band I'm in, they're all wonderful composers, and everybody listens. We all want to tell a story together. And that's, you share that in pop music, and I've played all kinds of stuff, and there's a certain, common denominator in everything. Like even when you're playing a pocket, I say this to like Chico Huff, he's going to laugh if he sees this, but he's another great bass player with like all the facility, and he's the first guy that played doom, 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 because that's what works for the music. It's not about, hey man, check this out, and so I love that. I love that integrity about music. But the thing about jazz is the improvisation that just, man, it's like, again, it's like living without a net. You're right there, and it is so exhilarating. I love it. It's just incredible.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report. I'd like to personally thank and congratulate the incomparable Paul Jost. Make sure you go out and support his brand new record, Simple Life, which is now available on his website, pauljostmusic.com, as well as amazon.com and Google Play. I'd like to personally thank the staff and management at Mesro for their warm hospitality. If you guys really enjoy my videos, please like, share, and subscribe, and join the Pace Report on both YouTube as well as Vimeo. Also check out my website, www.thepacereport.com, for my weekly columns as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.
Take yourself away to your fire all your life. Only waiting for the smoke to arrive. That puts in the middle of the night. Take yourself out and see all your life. We're only waiting for the smoke to be free. Paper,